Alright, this is you asking Amazon Echo to turn on the light. Echo asks the Alexa Cloud and get the response. Then Echo sends the light on message to your LAN. Raspberry Pi Pico W picks up the message and light turns on. Okay, let's make our Alexa enabled device. There is an open source project called FOMO ESP which emulates lights and plugs for Amazon Echo devices using ESP microcontrollers. Back in the day, I used to use this library with ESP8266 to make Alexa-enabled devices. There are two emulation types of FOMO ESP library. Version 2.4 is emulates Belkin smart plugs which gives you on-off control of device. Version 3.4 emulates Philips dimmable lights which gives you control of on-off states and brightness of the device. To use FOMO ESP library on Raspberry Pi Pico W, we need Arduino Core with Wi-Fi support and async TCP library. Thanks to the open source community for providing these libraries. Finally, we need FOMO ESP port for Raspberry Pi Pico W, which is what I did. I actually ported for version 2.4 and 3.4 in case you need it. It should be supported all three generations of Amazon Echo devices. Since I only have first and second generation Amazon Echo devices, I didn't test with third generation devices. Please let me know if it is working for you. For sure, FOMO ESP library is not enough for smart devices. I need extra features like Wi-Fi config manager, firmware update, etc., which I have already taken care of. I will talk about all its features later. Installation. First, install Arduino IDE 1.8 or 2.0. Installing Raspberry Pi Pico Arduino Core. Copy the board URL. Open the Arduino IDE, add the board URL from Preferences dialog and hit the OK. Then go to the Boards Manager and install Raspberry Pi Pico Arduino Core. Installing Async TCP. Open the Library Manager, search for Async TCP for Raspberry Pi Pico W and install. Let's make a test circuit. We just need 2 LEDs, 2 resistors, 2 buttons and Raspberry Pi Pico W. Let's get the examples and compile. Go to the repo and from the latest release, download the examples.zip under the assets and unzip. Open the example in Arduino IDE. Select your Wi-Fi region. Click Export Compiled Binary to compile and get the binary file. Let's flash. Put the Raspberry Pi Pico W into bootloader mode, then copy the binary file to its storage. Let's try. When the device is powered up, the status LED blinks fast 6 times, as the Wi-Fi credentials are not set. Whenever you want to enter or exit config mode, push the config mode button for more than 5 seconds. When the device enters the config mode, the status LED turns solid on. It starts the config AP name Smart Device Config. Connect to the AP with the password admin. Open the config page as I do and tap to the Set Credentials page. We have to connect the device to the same network with Amazon Alexa device. So enter the corresponding Wi-Fi credentials. Hit the save button and device will reboot. When the device is trying to connect the network, status LED blinks slowly. When it's connected, it will be turned off. Set up devices with Alexa. To discover devices, say Alexa, discover.
Starting discovery. This will take a few moments. Power on your new devices now, and if needed, put them in pairing mode. I found Smart Device, and you can control it by saying, turn off Smart Device.
Alexa, turn on Smart Device.
Okay.
Alexa, is Smart Device on?
The Smart Device is on.
Alexa, turn off Smart Device.
Okay.
Alexa, is Smart Device on?
The Smart Device is off.
You can use manual on-off button to turn on or off the device except config mode. Let's test dimmable smart light example. Alexa, Turn on smart device.
Okay.
Alexa, set smart device to 10%.
Okay.
Alexa, set smart device to 2%.
Okay.
Alexa, set smart device to 100%.
Okay.
Alexa, turn off the smart device.
Okay.
You can use manual on-off button to turn on or off the device except config mode. Customizing software and some tips. Continuous on-off operation may cause damage the output device. Network control delay prevents continuous on-off operations over network by adding a delay between them. Since there is no security, I think it will be better to have it just in case. Setting the host name to a device makes it easier to track on router. By the way, to help Alexa find devices in LAN on PowerCycle, I am using static DHCP so that they get same IP address. The DHCP server assigns a static IP to a MAC address assigned to each network interface on the LAN. If you want to skip the Wi-Fi credential setup step we did earlier, you can set them here. You can always overwrite them using the config manager interface. You can set the HTTP authorization username and password for the firmware update page. If you want to use the firmware update feature, make sure you open the config manager in your browser. This is config mode timeout time. When this time is reached, device will reboot. Please note that after most actions in the config manager, device reboots. Status LED blinks once at startup. You can check with this. This was the first episode of Home Automation series. Please check the video description for codes, links, etc. I hope you find this video interesting. Please let me know what you think in comments. Please consider like, share, subscribe and click the bell button. Thanks for watching.